Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Joe and I have been going to Stamford Bridge for over 30 years. For the past 3 years, we've been exchanging voice notes on everything from the highs in Porto to the lows of Potter. Each week, this podcast will take you inside our unfiltered thoughts on all things Chelsea, sharing our view from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. In this episode, we look back at arguably Chelsea's best display of the season as we put Villa to the sword at the Bridge. We get the views of TV presenter and Chelsea season ticket holder Leonie Carpenter and look ahead to the midweek clash with Southampton. Let's start with our reaction to that win on Sunday.
Well. Whisper it quietly. Chelsea look very good. It's been quite the season so far. I mean, I did have a little bit of trepidation about today. I think I was worried that Villa would cause us quite a few problems. They're a bit of a funny old team, aren't they? I know their league position isn't kind of where they want it to be at this stage of the season, but I do think they're very hard to beat and they're a bit of a tough nut to crack. But we made them look quite poor, actually. It became a little bit too easy. Chris, you messaged me earlier during the game and sort of said, the fact that it is too easy, it gives you Leicester vibes. And are you going to sort of rue not taking one or two of your chances before we get our third? But wow, I mean, the way they are playing for each other, the way they're, if one person makes a mistake, someone's actually looking to recover that mistake. A great example of it was in the first half. There was a bouncing ball on the halfway line, and Kukurea was going back towards his own goal, and he sort of hit this sort of lofted pass back to Sanchez, and it was never going to get there. But I think it was Fofana sprinted, 20, 30 yards and made sure that Ollie Watkins didn't get anywhere near and he heads back to Sanchez. That's the sort of goal last season. The centre-back would have been like stopping and starting, and his split-second hesitation would have given Ollie Watkins a chance to score. These are little things. These are tiny little things in games, but that could have been a big factor in why Villa maybe got the equaliser today. I love to see it. I absolutely love to see the recovery tackles. I love to see somebody help their teammate out when they're struggling, or they're 2 against 1 or somewhere, and you get a flying winger, Neto, coming back to help his fullback, whatever it might be. And Chris and I mentioned during the week that we thought that there'd be maybe 8 or 9 of the sort of what he class as the regular starters, and then he'd always throw a rogue player in. Well, today, Caicedo playing at fullback was just, you look at it on the face of it and you go, it's a shame because he's so good in the middle. Are we going to lose his presence there? But Lavia and Caicedo were wonderful. They really, really ran the show in the middle. And Caicedo coming from the right back position into the inverted midfield player role, and for him was like a dream, wasn't it? I mean, I'll come to Caicedo in a minute properly, but I just wanted to mention him at the start of the voice note. I'm going to do something different this week. I'm going to sort of go through the players one by one because I can't really pick out anyone individually and say they were the sort of the best player on the pitch. As such, I thought there was one definite world-class player on the pitch today, but I will go through everybody and just give them a brief mention because I think they all deserve it. I'll start in goal, obviously, with Big Bob Sanchez. As everyone knows, I'm not his biggest fan. However, that was by far and away his best game of the season today, and I'm including Bournemouth in that, because there was no mistakes at all. No mistakes. His handling was really good. The save from Ollie Watkins in the first half when we were 1-0 up was incredible. Absolutely brilliant save. And it kept us in the game because it didn't give Villa any momentum. It stopped it dead in its tracks. He then made a really good save in the 90th minute-ish where the ball was just sort of flicked into the penalty area, and he comes rushing out and he gets a bit of a little touch on it and it just goes wide, and Levo Colwill scooped up the second ball and knocked it out for a corner. But all day long, he's passing out from the back. His decision-making was much better. He seemed to be doing things a lot quicker today. He wasn't mucking around. He was kind of getting it and giving it, which I liked. Hats off to him. Kukurea is an absolute world-class left-back. He is slowly turning into an undroppable player, in my opinion. He's so tenacious. His tackle for the first goal just sets everything up for us. Wins that ball off the Villa midfielder. Obviously, plays the 1-2 with Sancho and then whips the ball in nicely. But he didn't whip it in. He actually placed, if you look, he could have easily just whacked it in the middle, and he didn't. He actually picks out Jackson for a little dinked cross, and the finish from Jackson was absolutely brilliant. At right back, Caicedo, obviously, I did mention at the start, interesting position for him today because he's so good in the midfield. It's a shame, but actually his performance was just unbelievable. I could spend hours talking about this guy. He's becoming, I think, one of our best players. He's getting close to, if he finishes the season with like the sort of levels that he's going to be, I think, a very special player for Chelsea in the years to come. He's turning into a fan's favourite, an absolute brilliant player. In the middle, the two centre halves, I thought Fofana and Colwill, I'm going to put them in together, completely brilliant. They were dominant. I thought Fofana was the better player today. Not like as in massively better, but I thought he looked really comfortable. He looks like a player that was really enjoying his football, loves to defend. I gave him a little bit of stick after Man United, but I think he deserved it for that stupid jump header he did. But overall, the two of them are marshalling defence. I'm loving the fact that they're building a partnership, although we've just heard Fofana's got a hamstring injury. That's why he went off. So expect Fofana to be missing for at least 3 or 4 weeks. It wouldn't surprise me if not longer. So that's going to be a problem. But those two were excellent in the middle. Lavia and Enzo, fantastic. Lavia controlled everything in the midfield. Nothing was getting past him. He picks out the right passes at all times. He never gives a stupid pass. It's always he plays the first thing he sees, and that's what I love about him. He doesn't overcomplicate stuff. Lots of players could learn off of him. Enzo playing a lot further forward, and you can see he's starting to really enjoy his football. Again, we said last week he got in the box to score that goal. Well, today that brilliant pass from Palmer fizzed into his feet, whack, great touch on his left foot, and banged it on his right foot. No chance, Martinez. It was awesome. Neto can go both ways. I love the fact he can play right wing and left wing. The fullbacks got mugged off twice. He went on the right-hand side, he went to cross it with his left, dinked into his right-hand side and his right-hand foot, and drilled it low across the box. Then he changed to left-hand wing, and he did the complete opposite and whipped it in with his left foot, made the fullback look completely stupid. Love the guy. He's got such passion. He's got such speed. He's going to be a force for us. I thought Sancho was brilliant. The way he started the game was fantastic. I thought his first half an hour, certainly, every time he got it, he looked dangerous. And he was really going at his defenders. He was actually committing them and getting shots away. So, again, his decision-making was also much, much better. He's also, to be fair to him, his decision-making is always pretty good. His assists are always there to see. But today, I just liked the way he played. But, full of energy, tenacious, and always a threat. Jackson, fantastic goal. Really took that well. That was not an easy finish. And boy, oh boy, is he looking to be the signing we hoped he would be. He's only 30 million, which is a snip these days. And, he's already kind of getting into the double figures stage of the season. So good for him. Palmer, class apart again with his assist and that goal. The goal just is a wow moment. Absolutely love the guy to pieces. I thought he was very involved today, don't get me wrong. But I thought Moyes outshone everyone, in my opinion. Caicedo was man of the match. That's who I would have given it to. But Cole Palmer is just frightening. And we've got him for 42 million from Man City. Looks to be an absolute bargain. What a player we've got on our hands. And the substitutes all come on. And Nkunku, Felix, Badiashile, Gusto, maybe not, he come on right near the end. But the three that came on before him, Badiashile looked really comfortable. That's not the first time I've said that recently. He's come on in the Conference League games. He's also played against Leicester last week and he looked really comfortable too. So let's hope that we're building something because Fofana's going to have a spell on the sidelines and it seems to be that he's jumped ahead of Tosin in the pecking order. So really interesting to see what plays out there, but it looks like it's going to be Colwill and Badiashile going forward. And Nkunku, brilliant shot near the end, sort of leant back, whipped it right peg into the far corner, just went wide. But again, looked much happier when he came on. Jackson looked very miserable when he went off, but that's fair enough, I suppose. And Felix, too, really busy. He nicked a couple of balls on the halfway line and dribbled through a few good shots and stuff. Just generally very energetic, and he's trying to force his way back into the team after a good performance against Leicester last week. I say Malo Gusto come on right near the end, but I mean, the fact he didn't even play Gusto today and he played Caicedo at right back just screams, most managers wouldn't even do that. He does surprise us, doesn't he? Every single week there's someone different in the team, and they all seem to be getting a fairly, not a fair crack, because obviously Nkunku's not had much, but I would say overall he's given most players a fair crack at the whip. They're all getting some minutes in the league here and there, and he's slowly drip feeding them in to the A side, if you want to call it that. So yeah, I've got to say we were awesome today from start to finish. We controlled the game. one or two tiny, you could say tiny little chances for Villa. They said that Watkins won in the first half, but other than that, not really. There was a header from Duran that Cole was sort of knocked off the line, but would Sanchez have saved it probably? And we had plenty of chances the other end. Like we could have scored another 2 or 3. It wouldn't have been a surprise to me. So sorry for the long voice note on this one, but I just wanted to give a bit more of an overview on the game, as I'm only doing one voice note for the game this week. And personally, I'm just so happy to be second in the table, or joint second in the table at this point is what is marvellous. And obviously Spurs dropped points, Villa have lost, obviously Newcastle dropped points. Really good weekend for us once again. So onwards and upwards.
Great summary, Joe. And yeah, it's Monday morning as I record this, and a bit of a spring in my step because Chelsea are pretty awesome at the moment, aren't we? I thought a couple of things I wanted to add from the game yesterday, and there isn't a huge amount to be fair, but one was something that I really noticed again, and it's not a new thing really this season, but the way that we're celebrating the goals as a team really speaks of some unity and, I don't know, real camaraderie in the group. If you look closely, I mean, obviously it was an amazing goal by Palmer, but I love Noni's reaction. He was just, he basically just sprinted after him, was trying to get hold of him, and I just thought that was just really nice to see, because I think Noni's one of those players who sometimes we've been critical of maybe being a bit selfish, and obviously trying to grab penalties last season being the most notable thing. But the way that he celebrated that was brilliant, and there was a really good thing on Instagram going around earlier today from the Chelsea Instagram of Cucurella after the first goal. Obviously he did brilliantly for that goal, didn't he? And the way he celebrated with Enzo and obviously then Jackson, they're obviously all so young, such a young group, and actually all, of a similar age. And I think where we've seen in the last season particularly that been a bit of a weakness, and we've been critical of the lack of experience, I think what we're seeing the other side of that is, they're all guys of a similar age, a similar kind of profile, and there just does seem to be that sort of team unity and all that kind of thing, which I think is, as we know, so important. And if they grow up together and can really form a basis of a fantastic squad for years to come, then yeah, that's very, very good to see, isn't it? And clearly we'll hear a little bit more about this very shortly from our guest today, but I think the unity carries into the terraces, doesn't it? And the fans, it's back, I think, but the bridge is buzzing again. There's a feeling about watching Chelsea, and the biggest thing, I think, the other point I wanted to make is just how much I love watching us play. And, you always enjoy watching Chelsea. That's one of my favourite things to do, but genuinely really look forward to the games because we've got so many players who are fun to watch, and I won't repeat the stuff you said, Joe, but you can take joy in watching someone like Casado and the way he just doesn't give anyone a minute's peace, does he? Like Cucurella the same, Harry's impressed, and that's a really lovely thing to watch on the one hand, and then on the other side you have people like Palmer and Neto, and then you've got like João Felix coming on, and Nkunku. I mean, the level of quality that we get to watch right now with Chelsea is really, really fantastic, and the way that Enzo Maresca's got us playing, it's just a lot of fun. We're a fun team to be supporting right now, and yeah, that feels good. So I teased that we have a guest this week, and I'm very, very excited to welcome Leonie Carpenter to the podcast. Leonie is a fantastic presenter, actress, and huge Chelsea fan, season ticket holder in the Matthew Harding Lower, and goes to many, many away games as well. So Leonie's going to start by giving us her thoughts on the game yesterday at Villa, and generally how she saw it from her seat in the Matthew Harding. So over to you, Leonie, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Well, it definitely feels very good to be a Chelsea fan right now. After, the last few years we've had, to have such a positive start to a season, it just makes me smile. I was at the game against Villa at the weekend, and what an unbelievable game it was. I mean, solid performances from every single player on that pitch. I think Maresca made a bold choice with his lineup. It was very, very attacking. And of course, we know what Aston Villa can do as a team. But to get the 3 goals and the clean sheet, which is very important for us at the moment, it was unreal. Jackson scoring again, beautiful goal. Enzo scoring. And of course, you were playing Caicedo, Lavia and Enzo. So again, another bold choice by Maresca, because historically we know they don't always play well together. But it worked. And for Enzo to get the goal, it was great to see, because he's had a lot of heat on him recently. And you could just feel how special it was for him to get it. And we were all chanting his name afterwards. And he just felt so appreciated in that moment. So that was really good to see. Obviously, Caicedo is unreal, as we know, but to play in that right back inverted role, he was just spectacular. He was winning the ball left, right, and centre. Like his interceptions, his vision, like the passing, the way that he can just read the game. Like, he has developed so much as a player with Chelsea, and it's brilliant to see. He's just, I mean, you can't take your eyes off him when he's playing. Honestly, just brilliant. And then, of course, Cucurella, who I rate so much anyway, but he was brilliant again, winning balls, winning his duels, getting the assist as well. I'm talking a lot about the back line because I was just really impressed by everyone. And again, getting that clean sheet was so important. But yeah, Colwell again, big defensive moments for him. I was, got the goal line, saving clearance as well. Fofana was brilliant. He's so committed. But of course, it was a real shame to see him get that injury, and just hope that we see him. I know it's going to be a few weeks, but hope to see him back very soon. And I think we've got to shout out Sanchez as well. Didn't have loads to do, but when called upon, he did a job. When the ball was at his feet, he seemed a lot more composed. And myself and Gemma, who I sit with, we made a real point of just encouraging him, because we know where we are, Matthew Harding lower. Far too often when the ball is at his feet, all you can hear in the ground is, but we really tried to change that narrative against Villa. So hopefully that will continue, and he'll continue to feel encouraged by the fans as well. But yeah, great game. And of course, Palmer, what more can we say about that man? Absolute rocket of a goal. And you knew he was going to do what he did. As soon as he got that ball from Noni, he just knows. And yeah, what an unbelievable player. I think in terms of the manager with Maresca, I mean, all season you felt as soon as he came in, he's got this real appreciation for the club and a real appreciation for the fans. And every game I've been to, I've done most home and away this season, he's always made the point to come and applaud the fans after games, and he'll encourage the players to do so as well. So that is just, it's what you expect as fans. You spend your money, your time watching this team play, but there is this real connection at the minute and this real appreciation, and it's just beautiful. It really is. So yeah, I think I've been really impressed with him so far. I think what's different this season is people know what they're doing. There is a game plan, and he instills so much confidence in these players and these young players as well, which then instills confidence for us as fans. And you just feel like people know what they're doing, and we're getting the results because of it. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more positivity from the terraces this season. And again, I go to home and away, and there just seems to be this wonderful connection with the club again. And, it helps when you win games, of course it does, but it all goes hand in hand. So yes, it's been a good start to the season so far, and long may it continue.
Before we preview the midweek game against Southampton, I was really interested again to hear from Leonie around her perspective on Enzo Maresca and that connection with the fans that we know is so, so important. And Leonie brings up a very, very interesting topic, which is looking at the league table, are Chelsea title contenders? Maresca himself has come out and said that Chelsea aren't ready and we're not quite at the point. I think most of us as fans would probably go on with that, but it's definitely a conversation worth having. And actually, isn't it nice to even be having that conversation right now? Please do check out Leonie's amazing work that she does. She's been on TalkSport recently, hosting their YouTube show and lots else besides. So we'll include a link to Leonie's profile on the show notes. Check it out. Over to you, Leonie.
I think coming into this season, I had no idea what to expect. I mean, we've got another new manager, and just I didn't know what the expectation would be. I just hoped that we would improve, we would see development within the squad and the players. And honestly, it's exceeded anything that I could have imagined. We've had an unbelievable start to the season, and it has been an absolute joy to watch this team. I think with Maresca coming in, I had a lot of Leicester fans say to me, be prepared for the most boring season of your life. And it has been far from that. So in terms of expectations, well, he's already exceeded my expectations, even though I wasn't really sure what to expect. But I think top four it's a must now. The way that we've been playing and the way that we've seen other teams like City and, of course, Arsenal being inconsistent, there's a real opportunity to get top four. And I really do believe that is now a minimum expectation. It was quite funny, actually, yesterday at the game. I was talking to some Chelsea fans and one of them said, well, if Arsenal are still considered to be in a title race, then why can't we? And sometimes you don't want to bring up the title race because it's one game at a time. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But at the same time, he made a good point. If Arsenal are considered to be in it, then absolutely, why can't we? So, yeah, I think top four is a must now, just the way we've been playing and what we've been achieving and the improvement from last season as well. But, I mean, if City carry on the way they are, Arsenal are not the most consistent team. I know Brighton are up there at the minute, but, we can dream, right? We can dream. Liverpool have been unbelievable and, that they are going to be the team. 9 points clear at the minute. But I don't see a reason as to why, if we carry on playing the way we're playing, we can't at least do our job and then maybe Liverpool might slip up at some point. But again, I'm not getting ahead of myself, but I think sometimes you've got to ride that wave sometimes. It's just the way we're playing at the minute, just the squad, the belief, the confidence. So we'll see. I think we have to win the Conference League. It's ours for the taking. We've got the squad to win the Conference League. And in terms of other teams in it, we know we're the favourites. But I think there's a real opportunity there. And I mean, we're out the Carabao Cup, but FA Cup, there's no reason why we can't go on a decent run. I personally don't think I can take going to Wembley and losing again. But we've got the squad, we've got the mentality, we've got the belief, we've got the players. So there's no reason, again, why we can't go on a good run in the FA Cup as well. I think we just continue on, take each game as it comes. And, with Fofana being out at the minute, Badiashile has stepped up with his performances. So, hopefully things will continue as they are and we'll continue to be optimistic. But I am really, really enjoying this season so far. And I think there's no pressure at the minute. There's no pressure, expectation. We're taking each game as it comes. And let's see what happens. Up the Chelsea.
Hey, it's Chris here with a really quick message. Check us out on Instagram at 1905podcast. You'll find video clips, photos, and much more about everything we discuss on the show. Plus, it's a great way to get in touch to tell us your thoughts, share your feedback, or just say hi. Follow us on Instagram at 1905podcast. And now, back to the show.
I don't know about you, but is there anything better than a midweek Premier League match? I absolutely love them. Under the lights, there's something about a midweek Premier League game that kind of gets the juices going. They're usually always a bit bonkers as well. You find there's something mad that goes on. But yeah, our trip to the South Coast this Wednesday against Southampton is going to be a tricky game, actually. I think they're a better side than their league position certainly suggests. They've had a few kind of strained results. They had a whooping against Bournemouth, but then they probably should have got something against Liverpool last week. So I think they're quite dangerous, particularly at home. And to be honest with you, if anyone's not seen Southampton play this year, they are playing some of the best football out there at the moment. They really are. And they're actually something like 4th or 3rd in the possession stakes in the total amount of possession they're having per match. And they're actually above us. We were one place below them. So it goes to show you that even teams down at the bottom have sort of gone down this maybe keep ball Pep Guardiola style of system, which is interesting because, I think if you think of teams like Bolton in the back in the day, it was like basically Sam Allardyce and hit the front man as quickly as possible and get players around them. And it worked, for the most part. But nowadays you do sort of see, say, teams down at the bottom trying to play out from the back and, sometimes with great success and sometimes with great disaster. But I think Southampton are going to be a very difficult team. I think a bit like Leicester, if we start well and Chelsea are full of confidence, I'm not suggesting we're going to go there and lose. Don't get me wrong. We're playing with a swagger at the moment. That Villa game will give them huge confidence. I think when you have got a short turnaround game week wise, I think it's important to win the one before because it does give you that little bit of you sort of, put the shoulders back and puff your chest out and kind of go, we can beat anybody. And I think Chelsea do feel like that at the moment. That run of games we had with Man United, Liverpool, not Man City, Newcastle and Arsenal a few weeks back, we come out that fairly unscathed, which was nice. And now, we said, can we beat Villa? Can we beat Leicester? Can we beat Southampton? And then we got, the games keep coming. Brentford soon, and then we've got Spurs in between that. And there's some very winnable games here, and we won two out of two as it is since the break. So again, Southampton, they're not a team that scare me by any means, but I don't think we should take them lightly. Like I said, they are very good on the ball. They play some beautiful football. Again, if you haven't watched Southampton play this year, you are going to be quite surprised, I think, when you see them because you're going to expect them to be quite, lumbering and agricultural, and they are far from that. So they do play some really, really good stuff. I expect that the team is definitely going to change because we're going to see Wesley Fofana come out of the side. So I'm expecting Badiashile to come in for that. Whether he'll keep Caicedo at right back and play him like he played him today, I'm not sure. Gusto not fallen out of favour by any means, but for some reason has lost his place. So again, you can't second guess Maresca. I think he does something, like I say, different every single week. So he might put Caicedo back in the middle. He might actually play the same team, quite frankly, because it worked really well today. Would I be shocked if Jackson missed out this weekend and Nkunku started midweek? I wouldn't, actually. I don't know why I think that, but I wouldn't drop Jackson by any means, or I wouldn't even rest him, quite frankly. I don't think he got his yellow card, by the way. But I think that the reasons to change it up could be valid. Keep everyone fresh, keep everyone on their toes. But equally, I can also see him keep the same team that beat Villa. So the thing that I thought was really impressive for the Aston Villa match was that we had so many options on the bench. When you're bringing on Nkunku, Gusto, Badiashile, Felix, except, Madueke, it feels like, wow, we've got such depth. So this Chelsea team are slowly but surely just turning the screw and just building something up here. And I think it might be a tight game against Southampton. I equally think that if we get up early, we might turn the screw and go and get 3 or 4. But like I say, this Southampton team, I know Muggs, and I fully expect them to kind of give us a very, very good game. But yeah, let's hope for another win.
I'm completely with you on that. There really is nothing quite like a midweek Premier League game. It feels like a bit of a treat, doesn't it? So yeah, really looking forward to it. Very interesting. I haven't seen a lot of Southampton, so really interesting to hear what you said there about them being a very, very good team to watch and the way they play. Obviously, they won't have one of their players, Ugachukwu, because he is not able to play against his parent club, Chelsea. But it is definitely one of those games where we have to be very, very careful. And we obviously, the last time we did play there, we did lose. And the goal scorer on that day was certainly Mr. Lavia, who I think was man of the match as well in that game, and was probably quite a big point of Chelsea looking very closely at him. In terms of what we can expect to see, I probably might go a little bit different, actually. I could see Maresca maybe making 4 or 5 changes and rotating a little bit in midweek. I might be wrong, but I've just got a feeling that we played so well against Villa that I could imagine him wanting to have that 11 when we go to Spurs and wanting to have Caicedo, Enzo and Lavia probably in the team at Spurs and to us, most of that team being what we saw against Villa. And therefore, with 3 games in a week, I think he might be tempted just to change a few things around at Southampton. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we know there's going to be at least one change, as you say, with either Tosin or Badiashile coming in for Fofana. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see just a few more little changes here and there. People like Gusto coming in, maybe the wingers changing up a little bit. And yeah, I mean, maybe Nkunku finally gets that Premier League start, which he hasn't obviously since this first game of the season. But yeah, that will remain to be seen. But it's a big game. Chelsea, the league table makes for nice looking at the moment, doesn't it? And I think it's one of those where there's a lot of teams who've got tough games in the midweek actually around us. So more chance to kind of just try and build up a little bit of a gap, which would be really nice going into the game at Spurs. As always, we hear from a member of the opposition, and yeah, this week is no different. We are going to be joined by big Southampton fan Burgess for his views on the game. So I started by asking Ben how Southampton have looked from his point of view this season, and also how our man Ugachukwu has gone on down at Saints. So over to you, Ben, and thanks again for being part of the show.
So obviously Southampton's season, it's all to show really where we are, bottom of the table. I'm not going to sit here and say that we aren't where we deserve to be. We clearly are. It's obviously a big step up from the Championship last season, where I think we played some really attractive football. On another day, with things went our way, I think we would have got automatic. It was a really competitive season in the Championship. However, we did manage to hold on, make it into the playoffs, and I think Russell Martin got his tactics spot on. He stuck to his game plan, but he went against West Brom and Leeds and played to our strengths, but also looked to nullify their strengths, which I think worked really well. And I think that's something that maybe we haven't looked to do so much this year in the Premier League. I admire Russell. I enjoy watching his football, but sometimes I can't even put my finger on it. Sometimes I think we need something a little bit different. We need to be a little bit more compact. Sometimes at the back, know when to play it, when not to play. And in those games where we have done, maybe against Liverpool and Brighton on Friday night, in the second half, particularly against Brighton in the second half, I think we looked to go long a little bit more sometimes. We looked a bit more quicker on the counter-attack. And I think that worked really well. And I think sometimes in the Premier League, as I say, it's really hard to admire Russell sticking to his game plan and wanting to play attractive football that he'd like to watch. But sometimes you've got to do that a little bit, something different. So yeah, what's been bad is obviously sometimes those mistakes. I think even in the Liverpool game, they scored 3 goals against us. Didn't really create too much else. Those all 3 goals were really like we could have knocked down from our mistakes. I mean, that's the frustrating thing sometimes in these games, almost gifting these top teams goals. In the Championship, it did happen a few times, but I think sometimes, obviously, the Premier League standard step up. 9 times out of 10, they're going to punish you for giving the ball away. I think that's something that we've got to learn quite quickly if we're going to stand any chance of being competitive in the league this year. As I said, there's been some good games, and probably the most frustrating thing is we've been good against the better teams, against Liverpool and even Brighton, obviously flying the season, and then even at Ipswich and Leicester at home, obviously the 2 teams that came up with us, we dominated for large parts of the game, didn't see it over the line, and just again errors gifted them goals. So yeah, I think another thing just to add to it, I think we have been unfairly done by VAR a few times. Even in the Liverpool game, I think there's a penalty that we should have had. But then you could have argued maybe our penalty that we did have, was it inside the area, etc. And then on Friday night, the goal was disallowed. I don't think there's a person that understands football and is played the game that thinks that Armstrong was offside, but letter of the law maybe. But yeah, really hardly done by. I think in the second half, we deserved to win that. We could have quite easily been down 3-0 by half time. So yeah, hard to pick up some positives apart from maybe what we're doing. And obviously seeing some of the players step up. Particularly Tyler Howard-Bellis obviously made his England debut as well. Great to see that, and he's really grown into it after being quite shaky in his first few Premier League games. Again, on the other side of that, obviously Finn Downs, he got his goal on Friday night. He hasn't quite set the world alight as we'd hoped after seeing some fantastic performances last season. Yeah, so the loan man, Leslie from Chelsea, obviously was quite excited by this prospect. Obviously, you signed him for a little bit of money not too long ago. He hasn't really been given a chance this season yet. A few cameo appearances here and there. In the Cup, he's looked quite positive. Like Cardiff away in the Cup, he looked quite good. But as I said, not really been given too much of a chance. And it's a really unfortunate thing, I think. that Flynn Downs' suspension has come at completely the wrong game for him, because obviously Leslie can't play against his parent club. I think there is definitely a player in there. There's quality on him. He's confident. He's quite strong on the ball, strong in the tackle. But yeah, it's quite hard to put too much judgment in because we haven't seen enough of him yet. Maybe later in the season when Russell starts trusting him a little bit more, maybe to play in the style that we want to play. But yeah, there is definitely a prospect in there. Southampton going into the game against Chelsea at the moment in terms of how confident I'll be going into it, because obviously we've come off the back of 2 really good performances against Liverpool, and again, I said the second half against Brighton, I thought we looked really good. Some pundits saying obviously the best 90 minutes of the season. Don't quite agree with that, because I think that the first half wasn't fantastic. But yeah, definitely second half we were more aggressive on the front foot, quicker on the counter, and looked really good. Unfortunately, coming out of that game as well, by being more aggressive, I think Russell alluded to it in his press conference after the game, that obviously being a bit more aggressive, he's actually got a few players out suspended. Flynn Downs is suspended, along with Tyler Harwood-Bellis. There was another one. Yeah, there's a couple of others that are out injured as well. Obviously missing Adam Lallana, that's not a good one. Obviously, it was a great signing in the summer. I think it adds experience and some real tactical know-how in the middle of the park. But obviously, he failed to stay fit, unfortunately, for enough. Obviously, missing Ramsdale in goal is a big miss. And obviously, a long-term injury of Bazunu isn't ideal. So then obviously down to McCarthy, who's obviously season pro, did a good job for us in the Championship last season and the Premier League previously. And then obviously he was apparently picked up an injury as well, played through the pain barrier and an injection against Liverpool. And then Joe Lumley came in against Brighton, did okay. Obviously not bad for fourth choice to have, but obviously having Ramsdale in there is a massive signing for us in the summer. And obviously the quicker that he gets back. And as I said, obviously Leslie can't play, who would be the ideal replacement for Flynn Downs. But yeah, so we've got missing some key players in and around. Obviously, it's a chance, hopefully, for some people to step up, stake a claim for the rest of the season going forward. So yeah, and obviously Tyler Diblin was the other player that was suspended, picked up 5 yellow cards, and he's obviously someone who's lit the Premier League up a little bit with his performances. Definitely someone who we almost like sometimes as a Saints fan, it's like enjoy those performances, but also thinking, hang on, you're going to be too good, and who's going to be after you in the summer? So yeah, mixed match from performances have been better, but as I said, missing some key personnel going into the game. Yeah, it's obviously added on to key players being missing either through injury or suspension. Makes me a little bit nervous about Wednesday, and particularly the pace that Chelsea have got going forward. Really looking forward to seeing Palmer, and obviously for players like Jackson, etc. But yeah, even like players like Sancho, I think if they on their day we're going to have too much for our inexperience and defenders. At times, you never know. As I said, Southampton do seem to pull performances out of the bag, etc. like Chelsea against Liverpool and Brighton. Whenever we've been on the up, and I think recently we probably haven't quite got the number of points we deserve. I'm not saying that we don't deserve to be bottom. We probably do, or near the bottom at least. But I think, yeah, it could be one of those games. My heart maybe ruling my head a little bit, saying, yeah, we can nick something, have a good performance, as long as we don't embarrass ourselves. But on another day, I feel that Chelsea are one of those teams that, yeah, like we did against Villa the other day, could put 4 or 5 past us, especially if our defence, we're lacking those key personnel. But yeah, it's a game I'm always looking forward to. And I've always had some good games against Chelsea down the years, even with the superstars. So hopefully back against the Wolves, we can dig out a performance from somewhere. And as I said, at least not embarrass ourselves, come out with our heads held high to go forward to maybe some more winnable games. We have got a bit of a tricky coming up, but even coming near to Christmas, Palace and those sorts of teams where we need to start picking up points against. Hopefully we can take some confidence by at least having a good performance on Wednesday night.
We finish the episode as always with our best and worst memories of that fixture, and I'm going to be doing Southampton away this week. And I think I'm going to show my age a little bit with my selections today, but let's go with it anyway. So I'll start with the worst one, and I wanted to pick a game that I'd been to, and I've only been to Southampton away once actually, so that was easy. And it was way back in the year 2000. Chelsea were in the early days of Claudio Ranieri being manager, and it was a very cosmopolitan Chelsea team. That was the era of Zola, Flo, Frank Leboeuf, and actually a very young John Terry playing that day. He was in for Desai, who was out. And I remember this was at the old Southampton Stadium, the Dell, which was a pretty incredible stadium really of its time. It was so unique. It was the smallest ground in the Prem. It was about 15,000. I Maxims. It was always sold out, but it was a tiny, tiny ground. And it was quite an experience actually going to it. It felt like an old ground. The ground closed, a few years after that game. So it was kind of in its final days. And Chelsea started terribly. We were 2-0 down in the first half. After 5 minutes, we were 1-0 down. James Beattie scored, and we were a bit all over the place. And I remember being there was almost a bit of, it'd been quite a tough start to the season that year, having kind of come into the season with actually high hopes of even putting a title challenge together. The season previous, we'd done really well in the Champions League, and you kind of thought, we might have a go this year, but we were a bit all over the shop, and there was a bit of gallows humour. I remember being in the away end of, 2-0 down, but this could get worse. And actually, we really had a spirited comeback and got back into the game. Dennis Wise scored with about 15 minutes to go, and then with 10 minutes to go, Gus Poyet made it 2-2 with a really good header from a cross by the Magic Man Zola. So suddenly, if you watch it back, which I have done, Chelsea players get the ball out the net. Hasselbank, another player playing that day, gets the ball out the net, and you think, right, we can go and win the game now. And in deep late in the game, 90th minute, Southampton get a free kick about 3 yards out, and James Beattie smashes it in. Watch it back, it's a goalkeeping error, really. Ed De Hoy in goal should do a lot better. And it's that horrible thing. I think we talked about it before. Nothing like losing a game in the last minute, is there? And it was, really painful. And a long train journey home for then what would I have been, 16-year-old, going back to London. So that was my worst memory of Southampton away. Obviously we lost our last game there, so I could have picked that one, but I wanted to choose one I was actually at. And then in terms of best games at Southampton, actually there were more to choose from than I maybe immediately remembered. We've actually had quite a few kind of classic games at Southampton. So a couple that immediately jumped to mind were the 6-0 win back in 2022, where, it's really funny, isn't it, when you look back at the scorers that day. Havertz, Werner got 2 and Mount got 2. So, all playing for rivals now. And that's only, a couple of years ago, which kind of feels crazy, doesn't it? And another one that stuck out is an Oliver Giroud-inspired 3-2 win in 2018, where we were, again, similar to the game we talked about before, we were 2-0 down with 20 minutes to go, and then Giroud got 2 and Hazard scored 1. We won the game 3-2. But the game I'm going to go for is, again, showing my age, but it was a game back in April 2005, Jose Mourinho's first season as Chelsea manager, and it was a 3-1 win for Chelsea that left us within 3 wins of winning the Premier League for the first time in 50 years. And it was just, this was the relentless Chelsea. This was the amazing team that conceded only 15 goals all season, and actually this was one of them. So Chelsea went 2-0 up in the first half. Frank Lampard deflected free kick, kind of a bit of a signature move of him that season. A really good goal from Good Johnson, thanks to an amazing run by Glenn Johnson. And Chelsea were just so comfortable. I remember watching it on Sky, I think, at the time, and we just had that. We were a Rolls Royce of a team in every department. We were strong. We had pace. We had strength. We had a bit of everything, and it didn't really seem to matter who was on the pitch. You knew that we were going to be good. Kesman started that game, for example, Matteo Kesman instead of Drogba, but it made no difference. Glenn Johnson started instead of Paulo Ferreira, and again, he was brilliant. It didn't really matter who played in that squad. They were all quality, and the players that you were bringing on were people like Joe Cole came on at half-time for Thiago. It was that kind of level of squad. It was really, really kind of incredible time to be a Chelsea fan. And actually nothing summed it up better than the goal to kind of signature the win at the end of the game, which was with 7 minutes to go after Southampton had pulled one back through Kevin Phillips. It was just a beautiful passing move, and then Good Johnson scored his second of the game with a really nice finish. And this was the point where you really, if you didn't believe it by that point, you just knew that Chelsea were going to go on and win the league. And a very, very special time to be a Chelsea fan for those who were around and remember it. It was a season, the whole season. I can almost talk you through every single game that year and how we did, because each and every one felt special. And I've probably watched the DVD that season back far too many times even now. So that one stands out as my real favourite Chelsea memory. And on all the conversation earlier in the pod, who knows, maybe we'll look back a win on Wednesday. I think that was a big moment in our season this year. But yeah, up the Chelsea, and here's hoping for a great game. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.